First of all, I want to thank you all for joining us today, and a special thanks to Whole Foods for hosting us and allowing us to use this space. They've been big supporters, and so we're happy to be able to partner with them on this. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ryan Zinn. I kind of wear two hats. I am the political director for Fairworld Project, and I am also the organic and fair trade coordinator for Dr. Bronner's Magic Soaps. Today, the big topic of conversation is climate change, and especially how it relates to agriculture. And we are very honored to have Rodale Institute and Coach Mark Smallwood with us today. He's the executive director, and they've been doing amazing work for over 30 years. And most recently, they've been able to release a white paper on regenerative organic agriculture and climate change, which I think is really groundbreaking and hopeful. And then I will follow up with a little bit of a talk about sort of the relationship between agriculture, climate change, and how it impacts small producers, specifically in the Global South. Afterwards, we'll have a little bit of Q&A. We also have it being recorded as well, so if you'd like to not be on TV, please let us know. Anyways, without further ado, Coach Mark Smallwood.
Good morning, everybody. So I want to thank Ryan and Dr. Bronner and this invite. Of course, I have a very, very soft spot in my heart for Whole Foods as well. I was the Mid-Atlantic Green Mission Specialist for Whole Foods before I joined Rodale, so I'm still a big fan. So thank you. So this past year we worked 6 or 7 months putting together this white paper entitled Regenerative Organic Agriculture. The most important part are the last 3 or 4 pages, because that represents all of the research. There's some deep science here validating this white paper. There's nothing here that we thought was going to go public without us being bulletproof. So it's important for you to know that our founder, J.I. Rodale, was the first person in North America to write these 2 words together, organic agriculture. He wrote them on a chalkboard in 1940. And so we are considered to be the birthplace of the organic movement. Upon his passing, his son Robert took over the Institute, and he added the word regenerative. And I want to be clear with everybody so you understand what Robert was thinking about. He looked at his father's words, organic agriculture, and then his famous phrase, healthy soil, healthy food, healthy people. You've all probably seen that. And Robert said, let's take it another level. How can we go beyond just health? How can we regenerate and make things better than the way we found them? So in farming, for example, we always talk about how our farm is better this year than it was last year, every year. And Robert's thought was, can't we even apply that to individuals? Can't relationships with single people be regenerative and better tomorrow than it was today, every day? And can't that expand out into communities regionally? And his vision was really a global regeneration, leaving the planet a better planet tomorrow than it was today, every day. I think that's how we work every day at the Rodale Institute. So I've been a beekeeper for about, I think this is my 19th year. On that frame of bees, there's about 2,000 bees. In a good, healthy hive, you have usually 3 boxes of bees. They call them supers, and there's usually 10 of those frames, so 20,000 bees in each box. So a good, healthy hive, about 60,000 bees. So in the springtime, when beekeepers come out to look at their bees, they take those frames out, just as I'm doing here. And a couple of years ago, I pulled 2 frames out, and I was working them. They were glued together with beeswax, and it's usually a good idea to separate them. And while I was separating them, I dropped one. So now there's 2,000 bees at my feet and 2,000 bees in my hand, and they immediately begin to communicate with each other. And I think they're saying something like, who's the moron in the hive today? This is not good. So they go into their defensive mode, and they start to sting. And so I got stung on the neck a couple of times, and they got me on the arm, and I put this frame back into the hive. There's still 2,000 bees down there, angry, not happy with me. And it took me about an hour to get them calmed down and back into the hive. So I had an hour to reflect upon the lesson that those bees were teaching me that day. So what happens to a bee when it stings and flies off? It dies. That's it. They get one sting. Now there's other insects that bite, and they'll bite multiple times, but honeybees get one sting. And what they told me that day was that they were sacrificing their life for the rest of the hive. They were going to give up their life for the rest of the colony. And that's the lesson I learned that day. And so I have a trigger. So every day when I get up in the morning, I put on green. I remember I was the green mission specialist, so that was kind of my trigger. It was like, okay, that's my job anyway. That's what I do. And so I put green clothes on every day. I have a lot of green clothes. And then I thank all of the plants and all of the animals that were here before us, because that's why we're here now. And I think that ties together nicely with the word regenerative. So there's our hive. That's our colony. And so I challenge all of you today to think of a way to trigger yourself on being a better steward. And I'm not asking you to sacrifice your life. I don't want you to lie down in front of one of these buses coming down Pratt Street and because it's spewing global warming gas. That's not what I'm asking you to do, but I'm asking you to think about how you live your life and how you can be a better steward, like the honeybees, for our hive, for our colony. So here's the problem. Here's what we're faced with. There's too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. There's other global warming gases, but carbon is the one that we can affect with organic agriculture. So that's the focus on what we're doing at the Rodale Institute. So nature does something very, very well. Nature keeps things in balance. There's a water cycle, there's a carbon cycle, there's nutrient exchange in the soil, there's all kinds of things going on in the natural world that all of it basically takes care of itself. And what's happened now is that we've put too much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. And how that's happened is, I guess, still for some debate, but the fact that it's there is not for debate anymore. We're over 400 parts per million, 350 parts per million is balance. And we need to get back to 350 to put the atmosphere and the carbon problem that we have with climate change back in balance. So take a look at the dates. September 15th, just a few days ago. Strongest recorded storm ever hit the Baja Peninsula. Phoenix, flooding. Look at the date, September 8th. Did you watch the news yesterday? They're filling sandbags in the desert because they're going to get another storm, a tropical storm that's going to hit Arizona today. And they're going to receive a half a year's rain in Arizona today in 24 hours. August 2014. Look at this stuff. June 16th, 2014. The winter of 2014, the hottest heat wave ever recorded. Third hottest heat wave. The polar vortex. We suffered through the polar vortex in Pennsylvania at the Rodale Institute. It was real. If anybody doesn't think it's real, I'll remind you, it was. And this is happening right now, 2014. The worst drought ever in California. They are in a big hurt and in a big struggle, and in particular in agriculture. So we can look at this in two different ways. This is the problem, but in my view, this is the gift that nature has provided us with. It's the wake-up call, because it's not too late. We have a chance to fix the problem. And nature keeps knocking us on the head with a hurricane, or a flood, or a heat wave, or a polar vortex. Wake up, everybody, it's real. And that's the gift that nature is providing us with. the wake-up call to let us know that we need to come up with a solution. So the solution is regenerative organic agriculture, and agriculture indeed is part of the problem. And we always say that if agriculture is part of the problem, then let's be part of the solution too. So how do we fix this using regenerative organic agriculture? Here are the tenets of organic agriculture. Cover crops. Keep soil covered with green plants. Crop rotations, biodiversity. Reduce tillage, all the way up to organic no-till, which we actually invented at the Rodale Institute with our roller crimper technology. And of course, the food for the stomach of the earth, compost. And here's how simple it is. This is not technical. It's so simple. It's 6th grade science class. Photosynthesis. Green plants take carbon dioxide out of the air, convert it into a liquid, and send it down as what they call as an exudate. It's simple sugars down into the soil. And as long as you have healthy biological soil, they eat the carbon chains. It's candy, it's sugar. Green plants take the ingredients out of the air, make cake and cookies for the microbiology that live in the soil, and they eat it up. And then when we use cover crops, crop rotations, no-till, and compost, we allow those microorganisms to hold that in their body until the carbon actually becomes part of their molecular structure. And when that happens, that carbon stays in the soil for generations. That's called carbon sequestration. So I can't make it any simpler, I don't think. Do we get it? Photosynthesis, healthy biological soil. And we do that with a regenerative process, and I'll be saying this over and over. In regenerative organic agriculture, we build soil. We make the soil better this year than it was last year, every year. That's sequestration. So watch what happens. Here's what our white paper says. We can mitigate 100% of the current emissions with a global transition to organic agriculture. We can mitigate 100% of the current emissions. But watch what happens. If we take cropland and shift it to the regenerative organic model, it's 40% of the annual emissions. We globally take pastures and manage them regeneratively. We sequester 71%. And so people look at me and they say, wait a minute, Coach, that's more than 100%. How can that be? It's 111%. And what happens when we do this globally is that we take care of current emissions at 100%, and then we begin to draw down those excesses. And we start to take that number from 400 to 399, all the way back to 350 parts per million, and we get back to balance. And that's regenerative organic agriculture, and that's leaving the planet a better planet today than it was yesterday, every day. So this is always the big question wherever I go, and the pundits want to poke holes in what we do at the Rodale Institute. But can organic feed the world? We had a group from Germany at the farm this week, Thursday, and I showed them some of our data. I took them out to our farming systems trial, and one of them said, but what about the productivity? And I said, good question, because look at the productivity. After 33 years of our farming systems trial, organic yields match or surpass conventional. Now, this is not a 3-year trial, it's not 13 years, it's 33 years of data. The yields are the same. No scientist anywhere in the world would dispute it. So I always say this, if conventional thinks they can feed the world and it's based on yields, then so can we. And if conventional thinks that we can't feed the world based on yields, then neither can they. So we have proven in our trials that indeed we can feed the world organically, and we do it better. We outperform conventional in years of drought. It's not even close. 18 to 33% is what our data shows. Increases in yield of 18 to 33%, even using the seed that those companies that genetically modify them call drought resistant. Can I say that we just kicked their ass? Because we did. Organic replenishes soil health with organic matter, and we use about 45% less energy. It's overwhelming evidence, and it's backed up by 33 years of data. So it's really simple. Work next to nature. I was quoted in the Washington Post a few weeks ago, the fact that we're even having this discussion about GMOs and organic is an insult to the fact that we think that we're more intelligent than the earth itself. And if we work next to nature and work with nature, we get back in balance and everything will be regenerative. So what are we doing? The white paper, of course, proving that we can indeed draw down the carbon. And October 1st, I am leaving the Rodale Institute with white paper in hand, and I'm walking to Washington, D.C. I'm going to hand deliver our study to Secretary Vilsack from the USDA. And two things are going to happen. We're also sending copies to every member of Congress before I get there. So they'll all have this on their desk, and then I'm going to hand one to Tom Vilsack. And two things will happen. They're either going to embrace it and begin to change, or they're going to go silent and we'll hear crickets. And if that's the case, that's the story too. They have the information and they're not doing anything about it. So that's our gift from the Rodale Institute, is to deliver this paper. So I have a short video to show you all. The Rodale Institute has proven that regenerative organic agriculture can reverse climate change. Regenerative organic agriculture can actually capture even more carbon than we currently emit into the atmosphere. We can tip the needle past 100% and actually reverse climate change. We know that agriculture has played a role in creating climate chaos, but now with your help, it can be part of the solution. The solution is a global transition to regenerative organic agriculture, which means working with nature to use photosynthesis and healthy soil biology to draw down greenhouse gases. On October 1st, 2014, day one of my walk from our farm in Pennsylvania to Washington, D.C., 160 miles, about 16 days at 10 miles a day. Along the walk, I'll be with farmers, the stewards of the soil. I'll be talking with people who are reconnecting our food system. While in Washington, D.C., I'll hand deliver copies of our study to decision makers and ask how we can help change policies toward an organic planet. But I can't do this alone. Rodale Institute can't do it alone. Please give and help us support the new research our paper calls for. Please lend us your voice and spread this vision of an organic planet. There is hope. We can reverse climate chaos through regenerative organic farming. And the time to do it is now. Thank you. So I just want to end the way I always end. This effort and what we do at the Rodale Institute, every day, how we live, is not about us. It's about future generations. It's about our children and our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren. When they look back on us and want to know what is the legacy that we left behind, did you leave us a better place? They're going to ask one question, and there's going to be two possible answers. So the question will be, so were you involved in all of that? And one of the answers will be, yes, I was, and I'm sorry. We blew it. We're ashamed, and we don't know how to explain it. Or the question will be, so were you involved in all of that? And the answer will be, yes, I was. So proud to say that I got involved in that. And I remember the day, the light bulb went on for me. And I started living my life for you and your future. And I left behind a better place by understanding that we could accomplish things previously thought to be impossible. Thank you all.